Hey everybody, it's Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. I will be doing a September favorite book. This one is called Radium Girls, The Radium Girls, and I am very excited to share this book with you. I don't know if you've read it, but if you have not, you should definitely check it out because it's a piece of American history that I'm not sure a lot of people know about. So yes, the book is fascinating and horrifying and heartbreaking, but the strength of the women is absolutely incredible. So my thinking for this page is to do some stamping across the top with the saying that the girls basically had as they were painting these luminescent watches, lip dip paint. And basically that's how they ingested the radium poisoning by dipping their brushes in the paint and therefore putting it in their mouths constantly as they painted the dial watches. Now this graphic up in the top left, I can't remember where I found it, but I'm definitely going to credit the person in my description if I can find it. I wanted to add some washi tape, and you can see that I'm almost finished adding that. I added light blue to kind of coordinate with the dresses from the girls in that picture, and also a piece of black. And I know that that image up in the top left to me is kind of haunting and kind of spooky, but that's kind of the point because radium has a half-life of 1600 years, and so I believe that the girls' bones are still glowing to this day and will be for a long time. So I have a new stamp set from Carrie Bradford called Stanley, and the letters kind of look a little spooky to me. So I'm using those to stamp in a bright green ink lip dip paint. And again, that's what the girls would do. They had a little pot of water and a pot of the luminescent paint, and they would dip their paintbrush in it to paint the watch dials. There was watch dials, clocks, and also military dials. So once I have that all set up, I want to make some clocks, of course, because that perfectly goes with the theme. So I have an Everyday Explorer stamp set that has clocks on it. So I'm going to make 3, since using 3 of something is always a good design point. So I do black outline for the clocks. Then I stamp the inside of the clock, and I cannot get the minute or the hour hands to perfectly line up with the little dot in the center of the clock, but that's okay. It's really not a big deal. So once I get that done, I get my water brush and stamp the clock numbers again, so that way I can pull the ink off of that stamp, and then I can color in the clocks, and they turn out really awesome. I love how they look. They looked so good. So I will cut those out in a little bit, let them dry, and then cut them out. There was one clock that I really didn't like how it turned very smudged, I guess you could say. So I went ahead and redid that one. But it is so fun to color in these clocks and use my water brush. So I love it. So right now I'm reading a graphic novel called Lights. It's part of a series. This is the last book in the series. And then I'm listening to I Thought You Said This Would Work. I think that's what it's called. It's this road trip book about women's friendship, and it's pretty good, but it's also kind of heartbreaking because the reality of women and friendships, it's hard. I mean, I know from experience. So it's a good book, but it's also hard to listen to, I guess, since I relate so much. And then my next book that I'm going to read is Iron Flame, the second book for Fourth Wing. I'm sure you've heard of it. I am so excited to read that book. My dear friend Erica surprised me by sending me a copy, and I was just blown away because I was going to wait till I got it from the library. So I'm so thankful for her. I also stamped 2 phrases that I know worked perfectly for this book, which was "We are stronger together" and "Here's to strong women, 100% grit," because a lot of these women that decided to fight the company for taking responsibility and also paying their medical bills, they did while their health was failing and while they were dying, which was just absolutely incredible. I also had some other stamps that I thought went well. It's like raindrops, but I mean, it could be teardrops as well. And then I have kind of a crawling vine that to me can go with kind of the spooky theme. So I use that in various spots. And I don't know if you've seen my daughter's finger yet, but at one point during this video, she had come up to me and was asking me what I'm making and why those girls look so spooky. So I explained it to her. And I also told her that there is a children's edition of this book. I'm sure it's for older children, but I told her, you know, if you want to read it someday, you can read it. For my clocks, I place those in 3 distinct spots, so that way I have a really nice visual triangle to move your eye around the spread. And I really love how they not only go with the theme, but they just turned out so awesome. Also added the 2 phrases right next to the various images, and I even put one clock off the page and just trimmed what I didn't need. So the synopsis is going to go on the right-hand side. My thoughts is going to go below the picture of the girls, and then I'll have room for 2 quotes. I wish I had more room for quotes, but I don't. And that's another thing I'm thinking about for next year as well. Like, if I have more quotes, how can I add in all those quotes? Okay, so for my synopsis, as always, I go to Goodreads to kind of jumpstart myself on how I'm going to put together my synopsis. So I said in 1917, the men were fighting in the war and women were allowed to enter the workforce. The job was painting watches, clocks, and military dials with a luminescent substance called radium made from it. And the girls and women flocked to this job with its good pay that allowed them to live lavishly. When the narrator was telling the story and, reading from it, she did talk about how these women, it was a very high paying job and it allowed them to go to lots of parties and buy lots of fancy clothes. And the radium dust that covered them added a sparkle to them. They always thought that, oh, this sparkle is so wonderful to have all this dust on me. And it gives them a glow. It was all exciting until years later the girls became sick with strange illnesses. Their work was slowly killing them, as radium is highly poisonous and the women began to literally fall apart. The company didn't want to take responsibility, and the women bravely had to fight for justice, even as their health failed. The Radium Girls would fight for the justice that they so absolutely 100% deserved. And when I say that the girls were literally falling apart, I mean that. This book talks about how one of the first issues a lot of them had is with their bones and their jaw literally disintegrating in pieces. And it's horrific. I can't even imagine this happening. It's horrific. So my thoughts was, I had this book on my list to read for many years, and I'm so glad that I actually listened to it. It's very haunting. It's very sad. It's an amazing tale of perseverance. Not tale. Tale's the wrong word. But it's an amazing story of perseverance of some very determined women. And I think this little known chapter of American history is something, out of a horror movie, especially talking about how the women were falling apart and their legs were shorter than their others. They were having trouble having children, and it's just awful, absolutely awful. It shows not only the women's bravery to fight for justice, but also how necessary there needs to be workplace conditions and safety. Listening to the women's stories, and knowing that they're suffering, yet they kept going. And even when they're sick, and they even gave testimony in their sickbed, was just incredible. And I think I know that this story will stay with me. So the quote I just wrote was, "Radium eats the bone." An interview with Grace later said, "As steadily and surely as the fire burns the wood." So that's that quote up there, and I put my rating down in the bottom left-hand corner, and of course it's going to get 5 stars, and I just flipped to the wishing game, which was number 115, so I just counted from there and figured out it was 119. And I need to make a bigger box next month because this book covers a lot of different genres, but I just picked 2, historical and feminism. So, and I have room for one more quote, so I'm going to go ahead and add that quote, and I kind of already said it to you guys earlier about the half-life of radium, but it is with a half-life of 1,600 years, radium could take its time to make itself known, because many of these girls did not start suffering right away. It took years, and that's another thing that the company was trying to not have to pay for is, oh, you weren't working for us at the time. All right, you guys, this is the spread, and I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing this come together. I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you are new to my channel. Have a great day. Bye.